I don't know if you remember, but I told you that equity is the main reason that I buy a house. Like I would buy a house because of the equity that I built. And why does equity keep increasing, folks? There are two reasons that equity increases. Number one, what happens to the amount you owe the bank? It keeps going down, right? So you own more and more of your house. At the very same time, the value of your property is also increasing. So it's like a twofold, you're growing on both ends, so to speak. Until, of course, you paid off your entire mortgage, which would be amazing, right? To get to that point. Then it stops growing like on this end, but it keeps growing on the top end, right? This hopefully keeps on going up and up and up. And you build equity just by living in that place and it being yours, right? So write this down. Equity grows because, right, due to appreciation of property and paying off mortgage. Okay. The only problem is the equity is you can't access it just like that. It's not like money in your pocket. Okay? But there's a way to capitalize on that. The banks come in there. They're like, hey, you've got 300,000 in your house. Like, let's say that's the case, right? If we go back up here, you've got 300,000. Do you want to borrow money to buy something? Like, you want a boat, a motorcycle? Do you want a cottage? What do you want? Like, we'll give you money because we know you have it in the house. And the reason they like borrowing money when you have an equity is because they know that if you can't pay, let's say you lose your job, something happens and you can't pay, they can sell your house because it's technically still theirs until you fully pay it off. They can sell the house, get their money back, and it's all good, right? So it's fairly safe on their end to borrow you money if you have equity in the home. Okay. So go to page 8 here. This is honestly just for you to know as you get, possibly you go into home ownership. There are two ways you can access your equity. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. Some of you are going to be like, I don't need to hear this. This is so far away. I'm not going to own a house yet. But let me tell you this. Yeah. Okay, for a split second there. Which part? The bottom part? Okay. This is what I'm going to say. A lot of students come back years after and they're like, now I understand what you were talking about back then. It was mumbled, like it was just like a bunch of gibberish, but I actually now understand what you're talking about, okay? So I'm planting a seed, so hopefully you're a bit more educated, because education is power. Like if you go into the bank's office and you know your stuff, they're like, oh, okay, you know your stuff a bit more than someone that has no idea what we're talking about, okay? So if you understand equity, at least in a general sense, you're already ahead of the game, okay? Okay, let's go to 8. Two ways you can access your equity, right? There's equity there, there's equity here. You can open up a home equity line of credit. You can use the money anytime you want. No payments. Okay. There are no payments. You can owe the bank money and just keep buying stuff. There are no set payments. As long as you have equity in the home, the bank is going to see like, yeah, it's like a never-ending credit card, basically. Just keep buying whatever you want. You can go buy a car. You can go buy a nice TV, right? Like one of those really expensive TVs, whatever you want, just put it on the this home equity line of credit. Or another way of accessing is the home equity loan. You can get a loan using your home equity. So there are set payments. But you have a lower interest rate. Using your line of credit, your equity, folks, gives you a lower interest rate. So that's how you save money as well. So for example, when I had to do my roof, I don't know if I told you about it, $12,000. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't have the money right now. And the bank's like, oh, you've got equity. We'll borrow you the money. What's the interest rate right now? It was like 7 or 8%. I'm like, that's high. We'll talk about that later. And they're like, oh, well, you have equity, so we'll give you 4%, right? Like, because it's safer. It all has to do with safety on their perspective, okay? So that's how you access your equity. It takes some time to build equity, though. You don't get a lot of equity right off the bat. You kind of have to pay off and let the property accumulate value as well. That's it for 8, okay? This is just for you to know how to access equity. Let's skip ahead. We're going to go to page 18, Understanding Mortgages. I'm telling you already that this booklet has way more than I can possibly cover. So I'm always a little ambitious. If I have time, I'll sneak something in. If I can't, then but you'll know, you'll be prepared for the exam. That I can guarantee you. So page 18, Understanding Mortgages. Okay. What is a mortgage? On page 18, just highlight, okay? A loan to finance real estate. That's what a mortgage is. It's really a loan, but it's toward real estate. Why is real estate special? Well, A, it's way more money than a car. B, what happens to the value of real estate as opposed to a car? The value increases. Versus a car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it goes down. Okay? So that's why mortgages are like, there's a special term for towards real estate. Amortization period, do you remember what that is? It's the time that it's required to pay off mortgage. Usually, I highlight this, most mortgages are amortized over 25 years. And to be honest, the main reason that is you wouldn't be able to afford the payment if you did it in 5 or 10 or 15. It would be a huge payment, okay? What's equity? We just talked about it. The portion of the value of your property that you own. That's another way of thinking of it. That's what you actually own on your house. Interest is the finance charge. It's the extra you pay to borrow money. So we call it the total interest as well. It's all the same. What's the principal? It is the amount borrowed. It's the same as the mortgage at the very beginning. Okay. It's the mortgage. Unpaid balance, we usually talk about unpaid balance like down the road of the mortgage. It's the portion of the value of your property owed to the financial institution at any given time. I'm going to give this next one a different color, the down payment. Down payment, right? The minimum amount in Canada right now is 5%. If you don't have 5% saved up, you will not be able to apply for a mortgage, okay? And so you need to understand that. So what do you think an average house is in Winnipeg right now? How much? $1 million? On average, like if we take low-end housing, like some houses are like 150, 180, 200,000 in certain areas, and then you've got your million and a half or whatever, there's an average of somewhere in between. I think it's about, I have to check. I would say 250 to 270 is your average house right now in Winnipeg. So that's taking high, low, everything in between, about 270. I'll let you know for sure tomorrow, okay? Because it changes all the time. What's 5% of 270,000? We can do that real quick. So that's how much you would have to save up minimum. 0.05 times 270,000. You need to save up at least 13,500 to even be in the game for a house that's 270,000. Okay? I don't know if you talk to your parents about this, but if you own a house, you should ask them, like, how much is our house worth right now? Okay? Just ask them, like, they will have a pretty good idea. And so if you want a house that's 350,000, you multiply that by 0.05, you need 17,500 to even be in the game. I'll tell you already that this isn't quite enough yet. You need more for all the extra costs that are going to come with owning and purchasing. You probably need 7%. 5 for the down, 2 for everything else. Okay? Okay, next, you buy a house worth 200. So to understand this concept, you buy a house worth 200,000 and you make a down payment of 25,000. I want you to make a little bar here. Everybody's waking up now. Bar? Oh, no, not that kind of bar. This one. Okay. 200,000 right there. And you pay off 25K. Like, it's basically, that's the value of your home. 25K is your down payment. What else do we call this part right now, technically? It's also, at the very beginning, it's our equity as well. It's the down payment is your equity at the very beginning. Okay? That means how much you still owe the bank after. 175K is the mortgage. So you got to borrow 175 to make that 200,000. Okay? So your mortgage is 175,000. The equity of your property at the very beginning is 25,000. The unpaid balance is the same as your mortgage. It's 175,000. D, calculate the down payment as a percent. What would 25,000 out of 200,000 be as a percentage? You do this the same thing as you do a test mark, right? If you want to figure out your test mark, you go 25,000 over 200,000 times 100. And what is that? Sorry. Times 100. That's 12.5%. 12.5% is the down payment as a percentage. I'll tell you this already. Put a little star in there because I will ask you how to do this on the test. Like not even a guaranteed one marker on how to calculate the down payment. So in this case, this person has saved up way more than 5%, which is good. The bigger of a down payment you have, the more you're going to save on interest. Okay, next. There are two types of mortgages you can sign up for. There's one that's called the fixed mortgage. The other one is a variable rate mortgage. How are they different? I think the name says it all if you think about it. If you have a fixed rate mortgage, the interest rate is unchanged, okay? A mortgage rate with the interest rate remains unchanged. Sorry about that. I should have given you a bit more space here. Remains unchanged for a specified period of time. So a lot of you will pick a 5-year term. So you're guaranteed to keep the interest rate for that time frame. It's also known as a closed mortgage. So regardless of what the market is doing, you'll be locked in with that interest rate. On the flip side, if you have a variable rate mortgage, the interest rate may vary from month to month. Okay, so that's where that is different. It's also known as an open mortgage. And that's just for you to know. Okay, question. Why would someone want a fixed rate mortgage? Why would you want to lock in for 5 years? To be honest, it has to do with security. Like, are you a person that doesn't want risk? I just like my interest rate to stay this, and I feel like it's pretty low right now, and you're just gonna lock in and you're like, I'm fine with that. I don't want it to go up like next month and be like, oh shoot, like now I can't make my payments. And the variable is the more adventurous type. You like the risk. You're like, you know what? I feel like it's gonna go down even more, so I'm not gonna lock in. I'm just gonna keep it open. Another reason you would want to keep it open is if you're planning on selling soon. Because if you lock in, you cannot get out without paying a penalty. If you keep it open, you can sell it at any point, pay off your mortgage, and off you go. Okay? Keep going. I'm going to skip some of these pages here. Go to page 20, which doesn't have a page number, but it looks like this. These formulas are very important, but if you did a good job with your study sheet, these are the formulas that are identical to vehicle finance. This box right here is identical. However, if you have the luxury of having space for mortgages, like this should actually have like mortgage as the title, okay? If you have the luxury of space, then add this to your study sheet. If you'd rather keep them separate, mortgages here, loans over there. Loans are for cars, mortgages are for houses, okay? You do what you need to do. If you want to blend it, okay, if you want to blend them, this is what I need you to do. You go to your study sheet, and wherever it says loan, you're going to go /mortgage. So I, for example, will go like this, loan/mortgage. They mean the same thing. Interest paid in the first month. Instead of mortgage, you should also know that this is the loan, okay? It's the same thing. Where else is mortgage? Right here. It's all in bold here. So in this case, total interest, you take your payment times 12 times the number of years minus mortgage, you can go /loan. Okay? So that's what I need you to do if you want to blend it. Pay close attention. You want to go to your loan section and also tack on mortgages. That's up to you how you want to do that. This is one way to save space, but at the same time, if you like them separate, I don't blame you. Okay? I don't blame you for having them separately. I probably would like to have them separately, just to have like my home finance. This is all home finance, but it's up to you. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's do an example. Page 22. I will talk about the other stuff that I was skipping. It's more concept based, so we'll keep an example and then you'll have some time to work through it. Okay, page 22. Everybody go to 22, all right? You purchased a home for $345,000. You're with me, right? I know it's been a long day. I know that. Let's just go through this example and then you'll be able to do them. You saved up 6% for a down payment The remaining amount needs to be mortgaged 5.5% over 25 years. Follow along now, okay? 5.5% over 25 years. Here's something that I threw in there because the province did that once and I found it wasn't fair because a lot of students were thrown off by this. But I alluded to this earlier. She chose a 5-year term to lock in the rate for 5 years. So some students were like, is it a 5-year mortgage or is it a 25-year mortgage? What is it? It's a 25-year mortgage. The only thing is that this person locked in that rate for 5 years, but it doesn't change our math. Okay? So I will just say does not affect the math. Okay, this part right here. It's TMI. It's too much information in my opinion. Okay? Okay, A. Determine the amount of the down payment, then calculate the monthly mortgage payment. So let's figure out the down payment first. Oops. It's 6% of the price of the house. So we're going to go 0.06 times 345,000. And let's figure out what that is. 20,700 is your down payment. It's important. I'm not going to circle it. I'm just going to say that was saved up as a down payment. Not bad. Did pretty good. And now we're going to figure out the payment, the monthly mortgage payment. That is what we, right? My formula calls this payment, and it's the mortgage. No, sorry. It's not mortgage, is it? If you check, it's price. It's the price of the house minus any down payment. And this gets multiplied by table rate over 1,000. So let's go ahead and solve this. Payment is the price of the house is 345 minus 20,700 and which table do you think we're going to use? I gave you a handout like this. Looks like this, pink. You can't miss it. There's a table right like the first page. It says amortization table. And it is the blended payment, principal and interest per $1,000 of loan. So we're going to get this value from our table using the interest rate and the amortization period. So it's 25 years at the top, and then just scroll down here to 5.5%. 6.10, yeah, 6.10 it is. Just broke my lead here. 610 goes in here. I'm going to use a red pen for that one. I'll tell you this pink sheet, you do not bring this to the exam, okay? If there's anything like this you need, it's going to be on the exam. Like they're actually going to have a full page with this printed right next to this question. If they don't give you a table, guys, what will they do instead? Because you need that table rate. It'll be flat out just mentioned in the question. It will say you pay $610 per $1,000 of loan. And so that's supposed to go in here. All right, now pay attention because this is where I saw a lot of mistakes in vehicle finance. Do this first, right? 345 minus 20,700. This is not dividing. This is just saying, right, this is 324, 300. 324, 300. Once you have that on your calculator, I go times 6.1 or 6.10, whatever you want, divided by 1,000. And here you have it. It's a big number. 1,978 and 23 cents. That is your monthly payment. Can you imagine that? That is a huge payment every month. Doesn't include water bill, doesn't include heating. It's just your mortgage payment. Okay. Next, calculate the total amount paid to the bank over the life of the mortgage. Total amount paid to the bank, that's this one. Total paid to the bank. The formula calls for payment times 12 months. It's always going to be 12 because we're in monthly payments. And then you multiply that by the number of years. So we go 1978.23 times 12 times how many years are we talking about? The life of the mortgage is 25 years. After that, the mortgage dies. You're going to be happy about that. So you take that payment, you multiply that by 12, that's what you pay every year, times 25. And here it is. You ready for this? Don't panic. And this, over the 25 years, you will have paid the bank about $600,000, close to $600,000. And I'm not making this up. How much was your house worth again? Like you borrowed $324, you paid them back almost double. And that's why you know they're doing pretty well. And if one of your parents is a banker, I'm not hating on banks, I'm just saying they're doing pretty good. Okay? Because of mortgages. Mortgages is their like bread and butter because it's safe and it gives them a lot of money. Okay? Determine the amount on the first month's payment that goes towards interest. What are we talking about? If it's first month interest, we're not talking total interest, we're talking lowercase I, this one, which calls for the mortgage times the interest rate divided by 100, and all of that will be divided by 12 because you just want 1 month. Let's do some color coding with mortgages, right? So what's my mortgage in this case? Let's go up here and write it down. When you subtracted the down payment from the price of the house, this is what we call the mortgage. Okay? And that is the number you want in here. 324, 300. My interest rate is 5.50. I divide that by 100. All of that divided by 12. So here we go. 324, 300 times 5.5 equals divided by 100. All of that divided by 12. When I found out, that this is actually what's going to happen to a lot of you. The first payment is what? What's your monthly payment again? 1,978, right up here. Out of that payment, your first payment goes towards interest, almost $1,500 is just interest. It doesn't pay off your mortgage, it's just theirs, okay? So that's pretty crazy. Let's keep going. Find the principal paid on the first month. All you need to do is you take your payment, subtract the previous answer from it. You subtract the interest that you're paying, and that's the principal. Okay, so 1978.23 minus 1486.38. And the answer there is 491.85. Make an arrow here saying this goes towards paying off mortgage. Sorry, that was way too low there. You know these commercials, like the Quest Trade commercials, have you seen that? If you understand interest, you'll earn it. If you don't, you'll pay for it. I don't know if you've seen those commercials. I think that's just it with interest. Like if you understand how it works, you'll be smarter about it. Calculate how much interest you would have paid by the end of the mortgage. Interest, not the first month, but by the end of the mortgage. This is asking for total interest, the finance charge. Here you go. Total interest is payment times 12 months times years. Okay? And that answer, right, once you get that, you'll go minus the mortgage. So my payment is 1978.23 times 12 times 25 minus my mortgage is 324,300. To be honest, this part right here you already figured out. That's total paid to the bank. We figured that out in B already, so I'm just gonna steal that answer there. Borrow it. And here you go. 269,169 is the total interest you will have paid over the 25 years. And you're thinking, that's crazy. Why would anybody want to buy a house? Well, I can tell you that your house is probably, after 25 years, your house is probably worth, like this one was 345, right? Your house might be worth double or more than what you bought it at the beginning. So even though you paid a whack load of interest, you will have also earned a lot of equity in the meantime. Okay, I overloaded you, I know that. No homework. No homework. All you need to do is make sure your study sheet has those formulas for finance. Okay? That's all I'm asking you to do.